The U.S. Defiant drifted silently through the Carina Nebula's outer rim, her dark hull absorbing the scattered starlight like a shadow among diamonds. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's forward viewport, her weathered face illuminated by the ethereal purple glow of the surrounding gas clouds. 20 years of deep space exploration had taught her that beauty often masked danger, and this mission was proving no exception. Multiple signatures detected, Captain. Lieutenant Marcus Wong reported from his sensor station, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Configurations unlike anything in our database. They're big, each one roughly 3 times our mass. Chen nodded, her expression unchanged. The Defiant might have been small by modern standards, but she was humanity's first true deep space warship, built not to impress but to survive. Her experimental quantum displacement drive and adaptive shield matrix made her the perfect testbed for humanity's latest innovations. How many? She asked, already knowing the answer wouldn't be good. 7 vessels, arranged in what appears to be a ceremonial formation. They're beautiful, Captain. Like living crystals. The main view screen activated, revealing ships that seemed to be carved from pure light. Their hulls were perfect geometric patterns, each facet catching and amplifying the nebula's glow. They moved with impossible precision, maintaining exact distances between each vessel as they approach. Incoming transmission, Communications Officer Raj Patel announced. It's different. The signal structure itself is some kind of quantum-entangled carrier wave. They're not just communicating, they're sharing consciousness. Chen's eyes narrowed. Humanity had encountered 15 alien species in their push to the stars, but none had demonstrated technology this advanced. Can we decode it? The quantum AI is working on it now, Raj replied, his hand steady despite the tension. Wait, got it. The bridge speakers came to life with a voice that seemed to exist more in their minds than their ears. Attention inferior vessel. You have entered space claimed by the secondary consciousness. Your technological and biological imperfections offend us. Prepare for assessment and potential termination. Charming, Chen muttered. Raj, open a channel. She straightened her uniform, more out of habit than necessity. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Defiant. We operate under the authority of the Human Exploration Initiative. This region of space falls outside any recognized territorial claims. The response came instantly, the alien voice tinged with what could only be described as contempt. Your primitive understanding of space-time sovereignty is noted and dismissed. Our claims extend across all potential quantum states of this region. You exist here, therefore you trespass. Dr. Rivera, Chen called to her science officer. What are we dealing with? Dr. Maria Rivera looked up from her station, her dark eyes reflecting the holographic displays surrounding her. Their ships appear to be utilizing some form of quantum crystalline structure. Each vessel is essentially a massive quantum computer, capable of existing in multiple states simultaneously. The crew. I don't think they have individual crews as we understand them. I'm detecting what appears to be a singular consciousness distributed across all 7 ships. A hive mind, Chen said, pieces clicking into place. Perfect unity, perfect coordination. No room for error because there's no individuality to cause it. She'd seen something similar, though far less advanced, during the Proxima incident. It hadn't ended well for the aliens. The secondary ships began to move, their formation shifting like a kaleidoscope as they surrounded the Defiant. Their precision was unnerving. Each ship maintained exactly the same distance from its neighbors, creating a perfect geometric cage around the human vessel. They're powering up weapons, Marcus reported, his voice steady despite the sweat beading on his forehead. Energy readings are, Captain, one of their ships could vaporize a small moon. Chen felt a familiar calm settle over her, the calm that came with knowing you were completely outmatched and having a crazy plan anyway. Dr. Rivera, what happens to a quantum system when you introduce an observer effect? A slow smile spread across the scientist's face. It collapses to a single state. Their entire technology is based on maintaining quantum superposition across multiple ships. If we could force them to collapse. Attention secondary vessels, Chen broadcast. We acknowledge your technological superiority. However, I feel obligated to warn you about a rather unique feature of human ships. She nodded to her crew, each of whom began implementing the protocols they'd developed during long nights of theoretical discussions and possibly illegal modifications to their systems. The secondary response carried a hint of curiosity beneath its arrogance. Your primitive vessel contains no systems capable of threatening us. Submit to termination with dignity. You're right, Chen agreed, settling into her command chair. We're not threatening you. We're just going to introduce a little chaos into your perfect quantum harmony. Activate the displacement drive. The Defiant's experimental engine hummed to life, but not in the way its designers had intended. Instead of creating a quantum field for faster-than-light travel, the crew had modified it to generate a massive field of quantum uncertainty. The space around the ship began to distort as probability itself became unstable. The effect on the secondary ships was immediate and dramatic. Their perfect formation wavered as their quantum systems struggled to maintain coherence in the face of forced wave function collapse. The distributed consciousness across their ships began to fragment as quantum entanglement broke down. Their power readings are fluctuating, Marcus reported, excitement creeping into his voice. They're trying to compensate, but their systems are designed for perfection. They can't handle quantum uncertainty on this scale. Chen watched as the beautiful crystalline ships began to lose their perfect symmetry. Sometimes the best weapon against a superior enemy isn't better technology, she said quietly. It's simply introducing enough chaos to break their perfect systems. Humanity learned that lesson long ago. We survived because we learned to thrive in chaos. The secondary ships began to retreat, their formation now visibly uneven. Their final transmission came through filled with static. Impossible. You create disorder itself. You weaponize uncertainty. What are you? We're human, Chen replied simply. And you might want to warn your friends. We're very good at impossible things. As the alien ships disappeared into FTL, Chen turned to her crew. Status report. The displacement drive is fried, Dr. Rivera reported with a grin. We'll have to rebuild it from scratch. Again. The good news is, Raj added, we've got detailed scans of their quantum communication systems. Give me a few weeks, and we might be able to replicate some of their tech. Minus the whole hive mind thing, of course. Chen nodded, allowing herself a small smile. Send a message to command. Tell them first contact with the secondary was educational. For both sides. She looked out at the nebula, its colors seemingly brighter now, and warned them, we're probably going to be seeing more of our new friends. Something tells me they don't like losing. The Defiant's engines powered up, their familiar hum slightly off-key after the strain they'd endured. But that was fine. Imperfection had always been humanity's greatest strength. As they set course for home, Chen couldn't help but wonder what other impossible things they'd need to do before this was over. 3 weeks after their encounter with the secondary, the U.S. Defiant orbited a remote brown dwarf star, running silent. The ship's normally pristine hull was now covered in makeshift sensor arrays and experimental quantum field generators, giving it the appearance of a technological hedgehog. In her ready room, Captain Chen studied the latest intelligence reports from the frontier. The secondary hadn't taken their defeat well. 3 human outposts had already reported crystalline ships appearing at their borders, probing defenses, testing for weaknesses. The modifications are ready for testing, Dr. Rivera announced as she entered, carrying a holographic display of their latest work. Though I should mention that engineering is calling it Operation Please Don't Blow Up the Ship. Chen smiled despite herself. Show me. The hologram expanded to fill the room, showing the complex web of quantum field generators they'd retrofitted to the Defiant's hull. Based on their scans of incendiary technology, they'd created a system that could potentially match the aliens at their own game, or spectacularly fail and tear the ship apart. We've essentially turned the entire hull into a quantum computer, Rivera explained, her eyes bright with scientific excitement. Instead of trying to achieve perfect quantum states like the incendiary, we're embracing uncertainty. Each generator creates its own field of quantum probability, overlapping and interacting in ways that should be impossible to predict. Should be. Chen raised an eyebrow. That's the beauty of it. Even we won't know exactly what will happen. The incendiary's weakness is their need for perfect control. We're building a system that thrives on chaos. The ship's alert system interrupted them. Multiple quantum signatures detected. Marcus's voice came through the comm. It's them. A lot of them. Chen and Rivera rushed to the bridge. The main view screen showed 15 incendiary vessels emerging from quantum space, their crystalline hulls now darker, modified with what appeared to be energy-absorbing materials. They've adapted, Chen observed grimly. Raj, are they transmitting? Yes, Captain. Same quantum carrier wave, but Raj's hands flew over his console. They're using some kind of recursive encryption. Breaking it now. The alien voice filled the bridge, but this time it carried an edge of contained fury. Imperfect ones. Your previous aberration has been analyzed and countered. Your chaos will no longer affect our unity. Submit to extinction. Chen settled into her command chair. They sound angry. Wouldn't you be? Rivera asked, taking her station. We showed them that their perfect system had a flaw. For a society built on the idea of perfection, that must have been traumatic. The incendiary ships moved with their characteristic precision, forming a complex three-dimensional lattice around the Defiant. Energy readings from their weapons climbed to apocalyptic levels. They're not taking chances this time, Marcus reported. That's enough firepower to crack a planet. Chen nodded. Good. Dr. Rivera, are your quantum generators ready? Online but untested. Captain, if this doesn't work, then we'll have given Earth valuable data about incendiary weapons capabilities. Chen's voice was steady. Though I prefer the scenario where we survive to deliver it personally. All hands. Battle stations. The incendiary attack came without warning. 15 beams of coherent energy, each capable of vaporizing a small moon, converged on the Defiant's position. But instead of attempting to dodge or raise conventional shields, the human ship did something unprecedented. It embraced the attack. The quantum generators activated simultaneously, creating overlapping fields of probability. The Defiant seemed to exist in multiple states at once, both there and not there, solid and ethereal. The energy beams struck these fields and scattered, split, reflected in ways that defied physics. It's working, Rivera exclaimed, her hands dancing across her console. The quantum fields are causing their attacks to exist in multiple probability states. They can't hit what isn't definitively there. The incendiary responded by adjusting their attack pattern, their ships moving to new positions with mechanical precision. But the Defiant was already changing, its quantum fields shifting in random, unpredictable ways. They're trying to calculate our pattern, Chen observed. Raj, send them a message. Having trouble hitting what you can't predict. The alien response was immediate and harsh. Your chaos cannot sustain. Order will prevail. Your destruction is inevitable. Funny thing about humans, Chen replied, watching as another coordinated attack dissipated against their quantum fields. We've been hearing inevitable our entire history. We're still here. But the incendiary weren't finished. Their ships began to pulse with new energy signatures, attempting to synchronize their quantum states with the Defiant's chaotic fields. They're trying to force us into quantum alignment, Rivera warned. If they succeed, they'll be able to collapse our fields, and then let's give them more chaos than they can handle, Chen interrupted. Activate the displacement drive. Full power. Captain, we haven't tested the interaction between the drive and the quantum generators. No time like the present. Chen gripped her armrests. Sometimes you have to roll the quantum dice. The displacement drive engaged, its experimental systems interacting with the quantum generators in ways that made reality itself seem to hiccup. The space around the Defiant became a maelstrom of quantum probability, waves of uncertainty radiating outward. The effect on the Incendiary was catastrophic. Their attempts to synchronize with the Defiant's quantum state backfired as the human ship's chaos infected their own systems. Ships began to phase in and out of reality, their perfect formation crumbling as individual vessels struggled to maintain quantum coherence. Their hive mind is fragmenting, Raj reported with amazement. The quantum disruption is forcing their consciousness to split into individual nodes. They're experiencing individuality for the first time in their history. The Incendiary fleet's perfect geometric pattern collapsed completely. Some ships began firing at random, others tried to maintain formation, while a few simply froze in space, overwhelmed by the sudden experience of individual existence. Status of the quantum generators? Chen asked, watching the chaos unfold. Holding, but only barely, Rivera replied. The interaction with the displacement drive is creating quantum effects I didn't think were possible. We're literally writing new laws of physics here. Chen nodded. Send a final message to our friends. Tell them we look forward to further cultural exchanges. The remaining Incendiary ships retreated in disarray, their movements now jerky and uncoordinated. Their final transmission came through fragmented, multiple voices overlapping where there had been only one. What? What have you done to us? We are different. As the alien ships disappeared into quantum space, Chen turned to her crew. Damage report. The quantum generators are fried, Rivera reported. The displacement drive is, well, I'm not sure it's even in this dimension anymore. But Captain, the data we collected, this changes everything we thought we knew about quantum physics. And about the Incendiary, Raj added. We didn't just defeat them. We forced them to experience individual consciousness. That's going to have huge implications for their society. Chen stared at the now empty space where the Incendiary fleet had been. Send a priority message to Earth. Tell them we've discovered something more powerful than any weapon. We've introduced chaos into a perfect system, and we need to be ready for what comes next. The Defiant limped away from the battlefield, its hull still crackling with quantum energy. They had won this encounter, but Chen knew the war was far from over. The Incendiary would be back, and next time they would be changed. Whether that change would make them more dangerous or lead to understanding remained to be seen. One thing was certain. Humanity's capacity for chaos had proven more powerful than anyone could have predicted. As they set course for the nearest repair facility, Shen wondered what other impossible things they would need to invent before this conflict was resolved. The command center beneath Earth's Himalayan mountains buzzed with activity as holographic displays showed the spreading conflict across human space. Captain Chen stood before the assembled Admiralty, her uniform still bearing scorch marks from the Defiant's latest encounter with Incendiary forces. The situation has become more complex, she reported, manipulating the tactical display to show recent battle footage. The Incendiary fleet is no longer operating with perfect unity. Some ships maintain their traditional quantum-linked formations, while others, she highlighted several recordings of crystalline ships moving independently, their actions unpredictable and often contradicting their companions. Admiral Zhang leaned forward, his cybernetic eye whirring as it analyzed the data. They're fighting among themselves. Not exactly. Dr. Rivera interjected from her position beside Chen. Our quantum disruption didn't just break their hive mind temporarily. It showed them an alternative. Some Incendiary have embraced individual consciousness, while others desperately try to maintain their collective unity. They're experiencing civil war on a quantum level. The tactical display shifted to show a recent engagement where Incendiary ships had attacked each other, their perfect crystalline forms shattering in spectacular cascades of quantum energy. The assembled officers watched in silence as the recording showed independent Xendari vessels protecting human colonies from their collective-minded brethren. "This changes everything," Admiral Zhang mused. "And nothing. They're still technologically superior, but now they're unpredictable. Both sides." Chen nodded. "The individualist Xendari are reaching out to us. They want to learn about human consciousness, about how we maintain coherent societies without a hive mind. But the traditionalists see this as corruption. They're becoming more aggressive, convinced that destroying humanity will somehow restore their perfect unity." The room's quantum sensors suddenly flared to life. Lieutenant Wang's voice came through the emergency channel. Multiple Xendari signatures detected approaching Sol system. Largest fleet concentration yet. Chen was already moving. "Permission to return to my ship, Admiral." Zhang's cybernetic eye flashed. "Granted. But Captain, the Defiant's quantum modifications, we've duplicated them across the fleet. Are you sure the same trick will work twice?" "No, sir." Chen smiled grimly. "That's exactly what makes it human." Aboard the Defiant, the crew worked with practiced efficiency to prepare for battle. The ship's quantum generators had been refined, their chaotic fields now more controlled, but no less unpredictable. New weapon systems, reverse-engineered from recovered Xendari technology, hummed with potential energy. Xendari fleet approaching visual range. Marcus reported from his station. "Counting 30 vessels. 2 distinct formation patterns. Looks like we got both factions represented." The main view screen activated, showing the approaching Xendari fleet. The contrast between the two groups was stark. Traditional ships moved in perfect geometric patterns, their crystalline hulls pulsing with synchronized energy. The individualist vessels moved independently, their formations organic and fluid, each ship's crystal structure unique and asymmetrical. "They're broadcasting," Raj announced. "Both sides." The bridge speakers came alive with overlapping transmissions. The traditional Xendari voice remained singular, though it now carried an edge of desperation. "The corruption ends here. Weagle cleans the quantum disorder you have introduced to our perfect society." The individualist transmission was different. Multiple voices speaking in harmony, but maintaining distinct personalities. "Humans of Earth, we come to warn you. The collective plans to unleash a quantum cascade. They would rather destroy this entire sector than allow individual consciousness to spread." Dr. Rivera's hands flew across her console as she analyzed the sensor data. "Captain, they're telling the truth. The traditional fleet is generating some kind of quantum resonance field. If they successfully collapse all quantum probability states in this sector, everything dies," Chen finished. "No more uncertainty, no more probability. Just cold, perfect emptiness." She stood from her command chair. "Open a channel to all Xendari vessels." The view screen split, showing representatives from both factions. The traditional Xendari appeared as a perfect geometric pattern of light, while the individualists manifested as distinct crystalline forms, each unique. "You're all missing the point," Chen said quietly. "Perfect unity, complete individuality. They're both extremes. Humanity's strength isn't in choosing one or the other. It's in finding balance in the chaos." She nodded to Dr. Rivera, who activated their modified quantum generators. But this time, instead of creating disruption, they generated a field of quantum harmony, not forcing unity or separation, but allowing both to exist simultaneously. The effect on the Xendari was immediate. Ships from both factions began to resonate with the field, their quantum states shifting to accommodate this new paradigm. The traditional fleet's cascade weapon faltered as its perfect unity was infected not with chaos, but with possibility. "Their quantum signatures are stabilizing," Rivera reported with amazement. "They're finding a balance between collective and individual consciousness. It's beautiful." The Xendari transmissions merged into something new. Many voices speaking as individuals, yet connected by choice rather than compulsion. We understand now." Unity does not require perfection. Individual chaos does not demand complete separation. Chen watched as the Xendari fleet regrouped, traditional and individualist ships moving together in patterns that were both ordered and organic. Sometimes the best way to win a war, she mused, is to show your enemy a better way to live. The next few hours were filled with intensive communication as humans and Xendari began the complex process of establishing diplomatic relations. The quantum cascade weapon was dismantled, its energy repurposed to create stable corridors of quantum communication between their civilizations. As the immediate crisis passed, Chen found herself in her ready room, staring out at the assembled fleet of human and Xendari ships. Raj's voice came through her comm. "Captain, the Xendari are requesting permission to send cultural advisors to Earth. They want to learn more about how humans balance individual and collective needs." Chen smiled. "Tell them we'd be honored." And Raj, "Suggest they start with music. There's nothing quite like a symphony orchestra to demonstrate perfect harmony achieved through individual expression." The Defiance quantum generators hummed softly, their fields now maintaining a delicate balance between order and chaos. Outside, crystalline ships danced in new formations, neither perfect nor random, but something uniquely beautiful in between. They had won not through superior firepower or technology, but by showing an advanced civilization that perfection wasn't the highest goal. Sometimes the most profound victory came from embracing the space between extremes, where chaos and order danced in eternal balance. 6 months after the quantum cascade crisis, the U.S. Defiant patrolled the newly established human Xendari border. The ship's hull now bore intricate crystalline patterns, gifts from their former enemies that enhanced their quantum field capabilities. Captain Chen watched as a group of Xendari students practiced maintaining individual consciousness while linked to the ship's quantum network. "Their progress is remarkable," Dr. Rivera observed, monitoring the quantum signatures. 6 months ago, they couldn't conceive of existence outside the hive mind. Now they're exploring individual identity while maintaining quantum connections. It's like watching children discover themselves for the first time. But not all was peaceful. The main view screen showed the aftermath of another attack. A human research station torn apart by quantum weapons. A small group of Xendari extremists, calling themselves the Unity Purists, had rejected the new balance between individual and collective consciousness. They saw the human influence as a corruption that needed to be purged. "Third attack this month," Chen noted grimly. "They're getting bolder." "Captain," Marcus called from his station, "long-range sensors are detecting quantum distortions. Signature matches Unity Purist vessels, but something's different." The view screen shifted to show 3 Xendari ships approaching. Their crystalline forms had been altered, edges sharpened into weapons, their once beautiful geometric patterns now harsh and angular. Dark energy pulsed through their hulls like infected veins. "They found a way to weaponize quantum despair," one of the Xendari students observed, their individual voice trembling. "They're channeling the pain of separation into pure destructive force." Chen studied the tactical display. The purist ships moved with the old mechanical precision, but there was something wrong about it, like a forced parody of their former unity. "They're not just attacking us anymore. They're trying to prove that individuality itself is a weakness." "Incoming transmission," Raj announced. "It's distorted." The bridge speakers crackled with a voice that was both singular and fractured, like shards of broken glass grinding together. "Witness the perfection of true unity. Your corruption of our people ends today. We have transcended the weakness of choice." "Life without choice isn't transcendence," Chen responded. "It's just another form of death." The purist ships attacked without further warning, their weapons firing in perfect synchronization. But instead of the elegant quantum beams of traditional Xendari weapons, these attacks torn at the fabric of space-time itself, carrying with them the existential terror of lost identity. "Quantum shields holding," Rivera reported, "but these attacks, they're not just targeting our systems. They're trying to disrupt our neural patterns, force us into their kind of unity. Chen felt it, a pressure at the edges of her consciousness, trying to smooth away everything that made her unique. Around the bridge, she saw her crew fighting the same battle. The Ingenuity students were particularly affected, their newly discovered individuality under assault. "They want us to feel it," one of the students gasped. "The emptiness, the loss of self. This is what they experience every moment, and they think it's strength." Chen gripped her command chair as another wave of quantum despair washed over the ship. "Dr. Rivera, remember what you said about the quantum generators, about how we could theoretically use them to amplify individual consciousness patterns." Rivera's eyes widened. "Yes, but we never tested it. The power requirements alone would. The secondary modifications to our hull," Chen interrupted. "Could they handle it?" "Maybe, but Captain, if we try to amplify individual consciousness patterns across quantum space, we show them what they've given up," Chen finished. "All hands, prepare for quantum consciousness amplification. Secondary students, we could use your help. Show them what they're missing." The Defiance quantum generators spun up to full power, their fields interacting with the crystalline modifications to create something entirely new. Instead of disrupting quantum states or forcing harmony, they began broadcasting individual consciousness patterns, not just from the humans aboard, but from the secondary students who had learned to embrace their individuality. The effect on the purest ships was immediate and profound. Their perfect formation wavered as their crews were forced to remember what it felt like to be individuals, to have hopes and dreams and fears that were uniquely their own. "Their quantum signatures are fluctuating," Marcus reported. "They're trying to maintain forced unity, but keep broadcasting," Chen ordered. "They need to remember what they're fighting against, what they're really afraid of." The purest ships' attacks became erratic as their crews struggled with the flood of individual consciousness. Their weapons fire went wild, quantum beams slicing through empty space as their perfect coordination crumbled. "We're receiving transmissions from within their ships," Raj announced, multiple voices breaking through their unity protocols. The bridge speakers came alive with a cascade of individual secondary voices. "I remember. I was a scientist once. I had dreams of exploring the stars. My name. I had a name before the unity." The purest ship's geometric formations collapsed completely as more and more of their crew rediscovered their lost individuality. Their weapons powered down as the forced unity that drove them shattered under the weight of remembered selfhood. "They're standing down," Marcus reported. "Quantum weapons offline. Their consciousness patterns are stabilizing." Chen watched as the former purest ships hung motionless in space, their crews processing the return of individual identity. "Open a channel." When the response came, it was no longer the harsh voice of forced unity, but a chorus of individuals speaking together by choice. We remember now. The emptiness, it wasn't perfection. It was fear. Fear of being unique. Fear of being imperfect. "Imperfection is what makes us who we are," Chen replied softly. "It's what lets us grow, change, become more than we were. Perfect unity doesn't need to mean losing yourself." The aftermath of the battle brought new challenges. The recovered purist crews would need help adjusting to individual consciousness again, and there were surely other extremist cells out there, hiding in the darkness between stars. But they had proven something important, that the path forward wasn't through perfect unity or complete individuality, but through the courage to be uniquely oneself while still remaining connected to others. As rescue ships arrived to assist the former purist vessels, Chen found herself reading the preliminary reports of quantum consciousness patterns from their crews. Each one was different now, unique, yet still harmonizing with the others. Like stars in a constellation, separate but forming something greater together. "Send word to Earth," she told Raj. "Tell them we found a way to break the Unity Purists' control, not through weapons, but by reminding them of who they used to be, who they can be again." The Defiant's quantum generators hummed quietly, maintaining the delicate balance between individual and collective consciousness. They had won another battle not through superior firepower, but by showing their enemies a truth they had forgotten: that the strongest unity comes not from enforced perfection, but from the willing cooperation of unique individuals, each contributing their own special light to the greater whole. The great hall of the quantum conclave sparkled like a cathedral built from living crystal, its walls shifting between states of matter as quantum energy flowed through its structure. Captain Chen stood before the assembled representatives of both humanity and the Xendari, the first such gathering in the history of both species. The Defiant floated in high orbit above, its hybrid human Xendari systems a testament to what their civilizations could achieve together. 1 year ago, we were enemies, Chen began, her voice carrying through the quantum-enhanced acoustics of the hall. Today, we stand at the threshold of something unprecedented, a true merger of human adaptability and Xendari quantum mastery. The assembled delegates were a study in contrasts. Human representatives sat or stood according to their preference, their positions casual yet attentive. The Xendari existed in varying states between physical and quantum form, some maintaining traditional crystalline appearances, while others experimented with more fluid manifestations of consciousness. But the peace they had built remained fragile. Reports of unity purist holdouts continued to surface, and some human colonies still refused to trust their former enemies. The challenge now wasn't winning a war. It was building a lasting understanding between two fundamentally different ways of existing. "We've detected something," Dr. Rivera announced, entering the hall with urgent data streaming from her quantum pad. "The long-range quantum telescopes are picking up massive distortions at the edge of known space. Something's coming." The hall's holographic displays activated, showing a phenomenon that made both humans and Xendari fall silent. A vast quantum storm approached, its edges corrupting the very fabric of space-time. Within its swirling chaos, shapes moved, crystalline structures larger than worlds, but twisted wrong. "They're like us," one of the Xendari representatives observed, their quantum form flickering with distress. "But they chose a different path. Perfect unity taken to its ultimate extreme." "The pure ones," another Xendari added. "We thought they were just stories, cautionary tales about the danger of pursuing perfect unity at any cost." A civilization that achieved quantum synchronization on a stellar scale, consuming everything in their path to maintain their perfection. Chen studied the tactical displays as more data poured in. The quantum storm was vast enough to swallow solar systems, and it was headed directly for both human and Xendari space. The Pure One ships, if they could be called ships, existed in a state of quantum supremacy that made even the most advanced Xendari technology look primitive. "How long do we have?" she asked. "At current velocity, 3 days until they reach the outer colonies," Rivera reported. "Their quantum field is collapsing all probability states in their path. No uncertainty, no chance, no choice, just perfect, eternal unity." The hall erupted in overlapping discussions as humans and Xendari tried to process this existential threat. Traditional military options were useless against an enemy that existed partly outside normal spacetime. The Pure Ones represented the ultimate expression of the Xendari's original philosophy: unity so perfect it consumed everything in its path. "Listen," Chen's voice cut through the chaos. "This is what we've been preparing for without knowing it. Everything we've learned about balancing chaos and order, individual and collective consciousness. It's all been leading to this moment." She manipulated the holographic displays, showing the Defiant's hybrid systems. "We've already proven that human adaptability and Xendari quantum mastery can work together. But we've been thinking too small. We don't need a fleet of ships. We need to synchronize every quantum-capable system in both our civilizations." "You're suggesting we create our own quantum network," Rivera realized, "but one built on choice and individual consciousness rather than forced unity." "Exactly." Chen turned to the assembled delegates. The pure ones achieve their power through perfect synchronization, but that perfection is their weakness. They can't adapt, can't evolve, can't handle uncertainty. We show them something they've never seen before: unified chaos. The next 3 days were a blur of activity as humans and Senderi worked together on an unprecedented scale. Every ship, station, and quantum installation was linked into a vast network. But unlike the Pure One's perfect unity, this network celebrated and amplified individual consciousness patterns while maintaining voluntary synchronization. The Defiant took point position as the quantum storm approached, its hybrid systems serving as a template for the larger network. Chen stood on her bridge, watching as the Pure One's vast crystalline forms emerged from the quantum disruption. Their transmission came as a single, overwhelming voice that threatened to crack reality itself. MPRV Kichuan, what will be CLEANSET? All what will be one. We are already one. Chen responded, feeling the combined consciousness of billions of humans and Senderi supporting her through the quantum network. But we're one by choice, not by force. Let us show you a better way. The network activated. Every quantum generator, every crystalline matrix, every consciousness pattern in human and Senderi space synchronized while maintaining their unique signatures. The result was something entirely new, a quantum symphony of individual voices choosing to work in harmony. The Pure One's perfect formation faltered as they encountered this new form of existence. Their quantum supremacy, based on the annihilation of uncertainty, couldn't handle the paradox of unified individuality. Their attempts to impose perfect order instead created cascading variations in their own network. Their quantum field is destabilizing, Rivera reported, monitoring the massive energy fluctuations. They can't maintain supremacy in the face of willing uncertainty. Their perfection is breaking down. The vast crystalline forms began to fragment, not into destruction but into transformation. Within their structure, individual consciousness patterns began to emerge, as if waking from an eternal sleep. The quantum storm dissipated as the Pure One's forced unity gave way to something new. Hours later, as the crisis passed, Chen stood again in the quantum conclave hall. The Pure One's representatives were there too, their forms still crystalline but now unique individual patterns shining within their structures. We understand now, they communicated, their voice no longer overwhelming, but a harmony of distinct consciousness patterns. Perfect unity is not the highest achievement. It is the balance between one and many, between chaos and order, that creates true strength. The Defiant's quantum sensors registered a new type of energy spreading through space, not the sterile perfection of forced unity or the wild chaos of pure individuality, but something in between. A quantum harmony built on choice, adaptation, and the strength found in believing that imperfection was not a flaw to be corrected, but a gift to be celebrated. Send a message to both our peoples, Chen told Raj, watching as humans and Senderi, and now former Pure Ones, mingled in the hall, sharing stories and consciousness patterns. Tell them the war is over. Not just our war, but the eternal war between unity and chaos. We've found a third path, one that leads not to perfection, but to something far more precious: growth. The Defiant's hybrid quantum crystals pulsed with new energy, their pattern a testament to what could be achieved when different species chose to work together. They had faced 3 different versions of perfection: the original Senderi hive mind, the unity purists, and the Pure Ones, and shown each of them a better way. As Chen looked out at the transformed space around them, she realized that humanity's greatest contribution to the universe wasn't technology or military might, but something far simpler: the understanding that true strength comes not from achieving perfection, but from the courage to remain imperfect and keep growing, learning, and choosing to work together despite those imperfections. The quantum network hummed with billions of individual consciousness patterns, each unique, each valuable, all choosing to work together in a harmony that celebrated rather than erased their differences. It wasn't perfect. And that was exactly what made it beautiful.